So the aim of today's lecture is to understand the process of transcription in prokaryotes and to see how it differs from the eukaryotic transcription, understand the steps in transcribing a DNA template into an RNA, then understand the promoter structure, gene structure, and how this transcription is terminated, as well as one aim I missed, that is post transcriptional modification, which mainly occurs in the eukaryotic RNA. So, you know about the central dogma. This is your DNA. The message carried in the DNA is transferred to mRNA, and the process of synthesis of mRNA from the DNA is called as transcription. The other lecture which you have in this week, that is translation, that is synthesis of protein from the mRNA to how mRNA is translated into proteins. So today we will concentrate on this transcription process, which is the copying of DNA and carrying the message from DNA, that is gene, to the mRNA. So mRNA is basically link between DNA and protein. So this decoding of our DNA is via RNA and then via protein. So there are two separate processes are involved. One is transcription, that is DNA used as template to make RNA, and then translation, where RNA serve as template for the sequence of amino acid in a protein. So what is an RNA? It is again a polymer of ribonucleotide. So how it is different from DNA, which is a polymer of deoxyribonucleotide. The ribonucleotides are held together in 3' 5' phosphodiester bridge, and it is single stranded, and it is the only molecule known to function both in the storage and transmission of genetic information as well as in the catalysis. So all RNAs except the RNA genome of certain viruses derive information from the DNA, whereas only one process, which is known as reverse transcription, which is reverse transcriptase, is enzyme which is present in the few viruses, that is RNA viruses, where from mRNA a double-stranded DNA is synthesized. So this is the difference between the RNA and DNA. RNA is single-stranded, DNA is double-stranded. Ribose sugar is present in RNA, whereas deoxyribose is present in DNA. So here the thymine is present, whereas uracil is present in DNA. So because it is a single strand, so no base pairing, that is Chekhov rule is present, whereas in DNA it is followed. So the I am not discussing in detail. So mainly it is cytoplasmic RNA, whereas DNA is mainly found in the nucleus. And then various type of RNAs: mRNA, rRNA, tRNA, snRNA, siRNA, miRNA, and heteronuclear RNA, whereas DNA is only of one type. So RNA is synthesized from DNA, whereas in DNA there is a replication occurs where DNA is itself replicated back to DNA. So the types of RNA we have just discussed. In all prokaryotic and eukaryotic, three major classes: mRNA, tRNA, rRNA, whereas the other RNAs are small nuclear RNA. There are small nucleolar RNA, soRNA, microRNA, miRNA. It is very important. You may get a question, but it will be discussed when you will go for this gene regulation, gene expression and regulation. And then there are small interfering siRNA, and out of this, and then there is heterogeneous nuclear RNA. So out of this, today we will discuss about mRNA, tRNA, rRNA. I will just give a small revision which Dr. Bhavna has already covered, and then we will discuss in detail about heteronuclear RNA and snRNA. That is through the how this snRNA help in the spliceosome formation. So 3 RNAs, mRNA, it constitute 5 to 10% of total RNA, and its main function is transfer of information of gene to the ribosomes. That is, it encodes the amino acid sequence. Then tRNA, which helps in the transfer of amino acid from to the mRNA. Then rRNA, which helps in the stabilizing of this mRNA DNA machinery, sorry, mRNA tRNA machinery on which this protein synthesis occurs. So many additional specialized RNAs which have catalytic activity or regulatory functions are also present in the cell, which we have just discussed. This is about this miRNA, snRNA, siRNA. So now coming to the messenger RNA, it constitutes 5% of RNA, most heterogeneous in size and base sequence, and all members of the class function as messenger. It basically carries the message from nucleus to the cytoplasm, that is from the gene to the protein synthesizing machinery. Then coming to the structure, so this is a eukaryotic mRNA which has a 5' cap and a poly 3' tail. So this 5' cap and 3' tail, it imparts stability to mRNA by protecting it from the specific exonucleases, as well as this 5' mRNA, it provides stabilization for the translation machinery. Then coming to the tRNA structure. So tRNA, it usually exists in the tertiary structure because of the extensive intra chain base pairing. There is formation of first secondary structure, and then later on further this base pairing leads to the tertiary structure. So the carboxyl group contains, here you can see that the carboxyl group of the amino acid is attached. So here this is amino acid and its carboxyl group is attached at the 3' over H prime of the adenine nucleotide of the acceptor arm. It is also known as adapter RNA, and the anticodon base, it pairs with the codon present on the mRNA. So there are this secondary structure is just like a clover leaf structure. So it contains an acceptor arm. This is the acceptor arm. This is anticodon arm. This is D arm. This is psi arm, and there is one extra arm. This is extra arm. Okay, this is psi arm. This is D arm. So not going much in detail about the structures. Then coming to the ribosomal RNA. So here I have shown you the structure of this mammalian ribosomal RNA, which is a 80S RNA. It has 2 subunits. Similarly, you have prokaryotic RNA, which is 60S. Here it is 160S subunit and another 40S subunit. Whereas in the prokaryotic RNA, here instead of this 60S subunit is composed of 28 subunit, 5.8 S rRNA and S 5S RNA and 49 proteins, whereas it is 23 5 in the this 40S subunit, and in 20 subunit there are 16S RNA and 33 proteins, whereas in eukaryote it is 18S rRNA, and along with that there is different proteins. There are other RNAs which are known as small RNAs. Most of these molecules are complexed with proteins to form ribonucleoproteins and are distributed in the nucleus, in the cytoplasm, or occurs both in cytoplasm and nucleus, and size varies from 20 to 300 nucleotides. And then there is difference between the replication and transcription. You know, in the replication both strands act as a template because both strands gets replicated, whereas in transcription only a single strand, and that also a small portion of genome which is known as gene, is transcribed. So there is no need of primer in the transcription, whereas there is formation of primer on which there is extension of this deoxyribonucleotides. Then the enzyme required for replication is DNA polymerase, whereas it is in transcription, it is DNA dependent RNA polymerase. The final product here is again double stranded DNA, whereas in transcription, it is single stranded RNA. The base pairing here changes because here in DNA there is thymine in the pyrimidine part, whereas here it is uracil. So base pairing also changes in the transcription. Here A base pairs with the T, whereas whenever there is DNA RNA hybrid formation is there, A pairs with U, T pairs with A, and in both G pairs with C. There is no proofreading in replication, whereas transcription, although RNA polymerase doesn't have this proofreading activity, but still the correction, if some wrong base pair comes, there is correction of that base pair, but no proofreading activity is there in the this RNA polymerase moiety. So there are a few similarities also in both this replication as well as transcription. Three steps are there: initiation, elongation, and termination. Polarity is followed. 5 dash 3 dash prime polarity is followed, and there is large multi-complex initiation complex is formed here. There it is known as replicasome, or here in the transcription it is known as transcriptosome. So adherence to the Watson Crick base pairing when there is formation of DNA RNA hybrid when the transcription happens. Again, in replication, you as I already told, the whole DNA molecule is copied, whereas in transcription a particular gene or a group of genes are copied at any time, and some portions of DNA are never transcribed. So what is a gene? Gene is nothing but it is a segment of DNA that codes for a particular protein. And how this codes for a particular protein? Definitely it is through RNA. So it may present on any of the strand. It may present on this strand, upper strand, it may present on the lower strand, and similarity it may follow the any of the polarity. It may the occur in the 3 dash 5 dash location. So here you can see it is present on the upper strand, whereas which is known as when it behaves as a template strand. When it occurs on the lower strand, the lower strand will act as a template strand, and here the polarity changes from 3 dash to 5 dash prime. Here you can see it is from the uh, 3 dash to 5 dash. So if it happens here, it becomes 5 dash to 3 dash prime. So any of the DNA strand, this gene is present, so that strand act as a template strand. The other strand is known as the coding strand. So that message is transcribed from DNA in the form of RNA, and from RNA the message is translated into protein, and these proteins are required for the cell structure and cell function. So now coming to the today's lectures, that was the revision of the previous lectures and little bit introduction. Now coming to the main lecture, just give me one Coming back, so transcription, this is the first step in expressing a gene. I'm repeating my lecture again and again, we have ample time. So it occurs in nucleus. It is a DNA directed RNA synthesis, and an RNA copy from DNA is made, and this is mainly the RNA which act as a messenger between the nucleus and cytoplasm and known as mRNA. So here you can see, although the other RNAs like tRNA, rRNA, miRNA, ribozymes, and this small nuclear RNA is snubs, which form snubs in the spliceosome whenever there is splicing process. I will discuss. So all these RNAs, they are transcribed from the DNA, but the message is carried mainly by the mRNA. So it is again a process in which the this RNA is synthesized from DNA. Gene refers to the functional unit of DNA that can be transcribed. The genetic information stored in DNA is expressed through RNA. One of the two strands of DNA serve as a template, which is also known as non-coding or antisense strand, and produces working copy of RNA, whereas the other strand which does not participate in the transcription, here we have seen that only one strand participates in the transcription. So the strand which participates in the transcription and produces the working copies is known as template or non-coding strand or antisense strand, whereas the other strand which doesn't participate in transcription is referred as coding strand or sense strand. And why it is known as coding strand? Because it has similar base sequence as the primary mRNA contains. Only exception is T. Instead of T, there is U. So here in the diagram you can see this is the template strand. So if I see this base pairing from which the this template strand or antisense strand or the minor strand from which the RNA is transcribed, if I compare it with the coding strand, the base sequence exactly matches. In only differences, instead of T you have U. So the strand of DNA which is transcribed is known as template strand because it is acting template, but it is because the little bit confusion is there, so it is known as antisense strand or the minor strand, whereas the other strand whose base sequence exactly matches with the RNA is known as, only difference is T and U, is known as coding sense plus or sense strand. Okay, so there is difference between the transcription in prokaryotes and eukaryote because there is no nuclear well-defined nuclear membrane. So the transcription and translation process occurs simultaneously in prokaryotes, whereas because of the well-defined nuclear membrane, the transcription process occurs in the nucleus. Similarly, after the transcription, there is post-transcriptional modification, which is known as processing, and then this mRNA comes in the cytoplasm in which the translation, where the translation process occurs and the protein synthesis occurs. So what are the specific features of transcription? It is highly selective process, and this selectivity is due to the signals embedded in the nucleotide sequence of RNA. So sorry, DNA. So this the base sequence which is present in the DNA determines the selectivity of the process. The specific sequence mark the beginning of and end of the DNA segment which is to be transcribed. Okay, so the first nucleotide from where the sequence has to be transcribed and the end where the termination is to be is to happen is determined, or this is embedded in this specific sequence. So this signals instruct the enzymes, that is DNA dependent RNA polymerase, where to start and stop the transcription, when to start and how often to start. Okay, now coming the other feature, that whatever RNA is synthesized, it is known as precursor RNA or known as primary transcript, on which the modification and trimming occurs and which is converted into functional or active RNA. So the process of transcription in prokaryotes it occurs in the cytoplasm and all RNAs are synthesized here. Whereas in eukaryotes, it occurs either in the nucleus or in the mitochondria. It occurs in the nucleolus also, where rRNA is synthesized, and when it occurs in the nucleoplasm, tRNA and mRNAs are synthesized. What are the prerequisites for transcription? You need one template strand, you need the substrates, which are nothing but ribonucleotides, ATP, GTP, CTP, and UTP. You need one enzyme, that is DNA dependent RNA polymerase, or you can simply call it as RNA polymerase or RNAP. So now coming, this question is again very important. This we first discussed transcription in the prokaryotes, and when we discuss the prokaryote, because it is a very simple process in prokaryotes, so we will discuss the transcription in prokaryotes first. And here the important feature is RNA polymerase structure, because there are few antibiotics which bind to the beta subunit like rifampicin, and it stops the this transcription process in the RNA. That anti-tubercular drug is rifampicin, which only binds with the beta subunit of prokaryotic RNA polymerase and stops the transcription as well as translation. So this RNA polymerase structure, it is a holoenzyme with 5 polypeptide, 2 alpha, 1 beta dash subunit. So these constitute 4, and fifth one is the sigma factor. And when it is without the sigma factor, it is known as core enzyme. So the if you have to describe the prokaryotic RNA polymerase, you can describe it in the two forms: core enzyme, alpha 2 beta beta dash structure, and holoenzyme, which is 2 alpha, 1 beta dash, and 1 sigma factor. So here you can see 2 alpha subunit, 1 beta subunit, 1 beta dash subunit, and it is known as the core enzyme. And as the sigma subunit attaches, it becomes a holoenzyme. So this prokaryotic RNA, it transcribes all the 3 RNAs: mRNA, rRNA, and tRNA. So single RNAP transcribes all the 3 RNAs, 5 subunit. Okay, the fifth subunit is sigma factor, which why this, and when this sigma factor attaches this 4 subunit, it becomes a holoenzyme. This core enzyme gets converted to holoenzyme. RNAP is a metalloenzyme which contains zinc, and it binds the magnesium ions beta subunit. So magnesium act as an activator for this RNAP, similar to DNA polymerase. So few books says that they contains another subunit, that is omega subunit also. So that the core enzyme forms with the 5 subunit instead of 4, but usually it is given 4 subunit, and fifth one is the sigma factor. So you follow your books. Now the functions of RNAP. What is the RNA polymerase function? It performs multiple function. First, it search and binds to the promoter site. Then it unwinds a short stretch of double helical DNA, that is melting of double stranded DNA happens so that it can move forward RNA polymerase. So it selects correct ribonucleotides and catalyzes the formation of phosphodiester bond, that is polymerization according to the base pair rule. It detects termination signal and it interacts with the activator and repressor. This last function of RNAP is very important when we will discuss the transcription in the eukaryotes. That the RNAP, this interaction with this I have told you in general, not about prokaryote or eukaryotic. Here I have discussed the general function of RNAP: binding and searching to the searching and binding to the promoter side, unwinding the double helical structure of DNA so that one strand can act as a template, Then it selects elongation process, helps in the elongation of the RNA's chain. It detects the termination signal, and in eukaryotes it interacts with the activator and repressor proteins that regulate the rate of transcription. So here the alpha these two alpha subunit, they determine the DNA to be transcribed. Beta subunit catalyzes the polymerization. Beta dash bind and open the DNA template, that is unwinding or melting of DNA. Omega, that is why because its function is not known, so many books don't consider it as a part of core enzyme. Then sigma factor, this is the most important factor because it makes a core enzyme into holoenzyme, and it recognizes the initiation sites called the promoter. So the process occurs in the three phases similar to the replication. Initiation phase, that RNA polymerase recognizes the promoter and starts the transcription. Then comes the elongation phase. The RNA strand is continuously growing. Then comes the termination phase, that RNA polymerase stops synthesis and nascent RNA is separated from the DNA template. So let's see how these three phases occurs. First comes the initiation phase. It involves the interaction of RNAP with the DNA at a specific site or sequence of DNA. So this sequence of DNA which is needed for RNA polymerase to bind to the template is called as promoter, because once this RNA polymerase bind to the promoter, the process of this transcription initiation starts. Okay, so there is one in this at a specific site or sequence of DNA where RNAP interacts with the DNA template strand is known as promoter. Promoter are the consensus sequences, that is characteristic sequences of DNA which whose base pairs never changes, or most of the time they have the same base pair sequence, that is known as consensus sequence. And this directs the RNA polymerase to initiate the transcription. It is usually located on the this coding strand, and this is the simplest type of promoter which is present in the prokaryotes. There are two base sequences on the coding DNA strand, which the sigma factor or RNA polymerase can recognize for the initiation of the transcription. One is known as the Pribnow box, which is, let us first see the diagram. So this is the start point, that is designated by the +1. The left hand side sequences are designated in the minus sign, whereas the right hand side, which is known as downstream, is designated in the plus sign, and left hand side is also known as the upstream strand. And this promoter sequence, this is this Pribnow box and this -35 position, it is present on the coding strand. That is why it is shown in the red point. So this Tata box, this is also known as Tata box because the base sequence here is TATAAT, which is present approximately 4 to 7 base pair upstream to the start point, that is +1 position, and approximately 17 to 19 base pair, that is at the -35 upstream position. There is another sequence which is TGTD GC GACA, that is also known as -35 sequence. It is present approximately at the 19 base pair, 17 to 19 base pair upstream to the Tata box. So first sequence which is present at the on the left side about 4 to 7 base pair away from the starting point, that is the +1 nucleotide position from where the transcription starts. is known as the TAT box, Pribnow box or Tata box, and another sequence that is minus 35 sequence. This is the second recognition site in the promoter region of DNA. It contains a base sequence of TTGACA, which is located about 35 bases upstream, that is on the left side from the site of transcription start. So why there are two sequences? Because this sequence is basically designated for the control of transcription by this is by convention known as the regulatory sequence that controls the transcription. Okay, and this is the main site where this your first site where your RNA polymerase uh, recognizes the this sequence and binds the uh, this is the basic initial point of contact for holoenzyme, and once it binds, RNA polymerase recognizes this sequence, it comes in contact with this sequence and forms a closed contact complex. I will show you what is closed complex and what is open complex. So here this RNA polymerase first comes in contact, and once it comes in contact, there is this holoenzyme moves and covers a second consensus sequence which is centered at about 4 to 7 or sometimes you say 10 base pair sequence. This is the site of melting because here this TATAAT, because it is a double bond double hydrogen bonds are present, so easily melting site. So this is the short stretch from where the unwinding of DNA happens. The initial melting converts the closed complex. Once this RNA polymerase bind to this minus 35 sequence, it becomes a closed complex, and as this RNA polymerase moves ahead and there is melting of this RNA DNA happens, it becomes an open complex. So there is formation of transcription bubble. So this let us, I have already told you about these two sequences. I have told you about once this RNA binds the minus 35 base pair, it forms a closed complex, and ATT region, this Tata box region, which is easily melted. Once this holoenzyme moves ahead and there is melting of this AT region, there is formation of this open complex. So here you can see this RNAP along with the sigma factor, it first recognizes this minus 35 sequence, comes in contact with this minus 35 sequence, and as it comes in contact with this minus 35 sequence, this whole sequence is known as promoter sequence. It moves ahead and there is melting of this Tata sequences, melting of DNA at this Tata sequences, and there is formation of this open complex. So this is a diagram of closed complex and this is a diagram of open complex. So once this initiation happens, you can see here after at the exact point +1 the initiation starts. So whatever initial assembly is there, small RNA transcripts are formed but they are discarded. So first transcript which is plus at the position +1, the actual RNA transcription starts from here, and this is first strand comes in contact. Here is a purine strand. Okay, so here you can see the first strand according to the base pair sequence to this purine strand, that is adenine strand. There is formation of this first uh, ribonucleotide uh, sequence of the RNA. So this is the initiation of the process, and after this, as RNA moves ahead, RNA polymerase moves ahead, there is addition of further ribonucleotide unit according to the base pair, and after approximately few nucleotides movement, this sigma factor detaches. Otherwise, it will remain attached to the promoter unit only. But now the process of elongation has to start after the transcription has started on the +1 side. There is promoter clearing, that is sigma factor detaches from the RNA polymerase core enzyme. Now this RNA polymerase core enzyme moves alone, and there is elongation process starts. So here another diagrammatic presentation of this transcription bubble. Here you can see there is this RNA polymerase binds to the DNA. There is melting of strands at the data box, and as this RNA polymerase moves ahead, this opening of strand keeps on happening, and this is an open complex, and whatever when this strands open, there is coiling ahead as well as behind of this uh, transcription bubble, which is removed by the topoisomerases, and as this this is the direction of this transcription, which is in the 5-3' prime direction, and as there is elongation, there is RNA DNA hybrid formation occurs. Okay, so this is the template strand, and this is the non-template or coding strand. This is whole this structure, orange structure and brown structure is your core enzyme. Okay, so now comes the process of elongation. Once the promoter has been recognized and bound by the holoenzyme, local unwinding of DNA helix continues, mediated by the polymerase. This is what I have written. RNAP binds at the promoter site. There is formation of pre-initiation complex. There is conformational change in RNAP, that is removal of your sigma factor, uh, and this uh, the first nucleotide encountered in the initiation, I have told you, it is always a purine molecule, and it associates on the, because I've already told you while describing the function of the RNA polymerase, that it is the beta subunit which carries this polymerase activity. So RNAP catalyzes the formation of phosphodiester bond in the presence of appropriate nucleotide, and this nucleotide comes according to the base sequences present on the DNA, RNA, DNA template strand, and there is elongation occurs in the 5-3' prime, and there is formation of DNA RNA hybrid during the process of transcription. Okay, now this RNA polymerase differs DNA polymerase in two aspects. Here there is no primer is required for RNA polymerase, because this enzyme doesn't possess any endo or exonuclease activity. And second function, this specification I have told you that it lacks the proofreading activity. RNA polymerase has no ability to repair the mistakes in the DNA synthesized. Okay, although the if some mistake happens, so misincorporation, that is known as misincorporation of ribonucleotide, causes RNA polymerase to pause, backtrack, leave the transcript and restart, but this transcription has a higher error rate than does the replication process. And this RNA polymerase doesn't has the proofreading activity, as it doesn't have 3-5' exonuclease domain for the proofreading. Now comes the termination. Once the whole region which has to be transcribed is transcribed, uh, there it reaches at the end of this transcribed region, it contains a stop signal. So prokaryotes have two classes of termination signal. One relies on the protein factor, that is row dependent termination, and another is the row independent termination. Okay, so we have discussed three steps. First step was our initiation step, in which, and we are discussing presently in the prokaryotes. Initially there is determination of this RNAP, sorry, not recognition of RNAP at the -35 base sequence. This is the first point of contact, and with the sigma subunit it binds with this -35 base pair sequence, and then it moves ahead. It reaches the Pribna box where there is melting of this DNA double strand occurs, which is present at the approximately 4 to 7 base pair upstream to the start point. And once this RNA binds, there is opening of this complex. This closed complex gets open. Then there is as soon as it reaches the first site, that is +1 site from where the actual transcription has to start, which is almost always a purine subunit or purine nucleotide. The coming ribonucleotide comes according to the base pair sequence. After this, there is after this 2-3 base pair attachments, there is promoter clearing. This sigma factor is removed, and the core enzyme, it moves ahead, causing the elongation of this RNA transcript. And this RNA transcript forms a hybrid with the template strand. So there is DNA RNA hybrid template, sorry, hybrid helix formation is there. And then comes the termination. So this termination, as soon as the sequence, this RNA polymerase reaches a particular transcript region which contains a stop signal, there the termination happens. So in prokaryotes, we have two classes of termination signal. One is row dependent termination and another is row independent termination. What is row? It is a ATP dependent RNA stimulated helicase that disrupts the nascent DNA RNA hybrid. So it is a hexameric that is having 6 subunits. It binds to a cytosine region of the RNA, and then it moves ahead. As soon as it moves ahead, it utilizes ATP, and when it utilizes ATP, it moves ahead and it has the and act as a helicase, that is, it disrupts the DNA RNA hybrid. And as soon as it reaches the termination sequence, it completely dissociates RNA from the this template strand, and the row gets dissociated, and RNA polymer, as soon as this row gets hit with the RNA polymerase, the this RNA transcript gets dissociated from the DNA hybrid, and the RNA polymerase stops the elongation process. So it is seen with the prokaryotic gene. It requires that a sequence of DNA template generates a sequence in the, this is the your nascent RNA. Here there is one specific sequence which is cytosine rich and is known as RUT sequence. So this is GC rich stem, uh, sorry, C rich row utilization sequence, which is present near the 5' end of the nascent RNA. It this your row, that is ATP dependent RNA stimulated helicase, it binds here. It moves ahead because when there is ATP utilization, until it reaches the RNA polymerase, uh, and then this RNA polymerase, which is paused at the termination site, it dissociates this RNA DNA hybrid because of this its helicase activity, and this nascent RNA gets released from the DNA. So this is your row dependent termination. Another is your row independent termination. There is formation of hairpins in the newly synthesized RNA. This occurs due to the presence of palindromes. Palindromes are the sequences which reads alike forward and backward. It is like those words you must have read in English about the palindrome words like madam, rotor. If I start from the forward direction, it will read as madam. If I start from the backward direction, so these as soon as these palindrome sequences are encountered, there is formation of hairpin structure in the nascent RNA formation. And due to here you can see these are the palindromic sequences GGTCGA, which whatever is shown in the dark green pattern, these are the palindromic sequence. So because of this, and this is your nascent RNA which is formed, because of this palindromic sequence, there is formation of stem loop in RNA immediately upstream from a run of uracil leading to the termination of the to the termination point. As a result, the newly synthesized RNA folds to form hairpin due to the complementary base pairing, and that causes transcription of termination of the transcription. So let us see how it happens. So let me show you from here. This is prokaryotic cell, this is DNA. Here, this is your Tata box and -35 sequence. This is your RNA polymerase along with the sigma factor. Holoenzyme binds to the -35 base pair sequence, forms a closed complex. Then it moves ahead, forms a open complex. There is formation of transcription bubble. One strand act as a template strand, other act as a non-coding, non-template strand or coding strand. There is as few nucleotides are added and it reaches at the +1 point. There is a clearing of the sigma factor that is known as promoter clearance, and then the elongation happens. Only the core enzyme moves and there is elongation of this RNA chain till it reaches at the termination point. Okay, so this termination is of two types. One is row dependent, that is this they are first showing row independent, that is a formation of a hair loop structure, that is row independent because of the palindromic sequence. And another is row dependent termination. There is this row factor attaches to the rut sequence. Okay, and this because of this rut sequence attachment to this sequence, this keeps on moving row protein, which is a ATPase dependent protein, and there is this has a helicase activity which dissociates RNA DNA hybrid and removal of this RNA polymerase from this nascent RNA. I hope it's clear. So coming to the transcription in eukaryotes, it is little complicated. Okay, there are three different types of RNA polymerase. Okay, and lots of transcription factor which are general transcription factor as well as specific transcription factors which are present in the for the transcription in the eukaryote. Detail about these factors will you will study in the this regulation of gene expression. So transcription initiation needs promoter and upstream regulatory regions. There are enhancers and silencers are also present in the DNA sequence that regulate the rate of initiation of transcription by RNA polymerase 2. So let us see how these RNA polymerases in eukaryotes are classified. So RNA polymerases, there are three types of RNA polymerases, 1, 2 and 3, and they are classified according to their sensitivity to the amanitin, which is found in the mushroom. It is a poisonous uh, protein which is present in the mushrooms, amanitin. So RNA polymerase is not sensitive to the amanitin, whereas RNA polymerase 2, which synthesizes mRNA, is highly sensitive to amanitin, and RNA polymerase 3 has moderate sensitivity towards the amanitin. The products of polymerase 1 is rRNA. mRNA, which is initially known as heterogeneous RNA, is a product of RNA polymerase 2, or small nuclear RNA polymerase are also products of RNA polymerase 2, whereas RNA 3 polymerase or RNA polymerase 3 synthesizes 5S RNA and tRNA. Rest 3 RNAs 28, 18 and 5.8 are synthesized by the polymerase 1. Okay, I hope it's clear to you. I'm not going very fast. I'm repeating my slides. Okay, so here you can see RNA polymerase synthesize ribosomal RNA. RNA polymerase 2 synthesizes messenger or mRNA and snRNA, whereas RNA polymerase 3 synthesizes tRNA and 5S RNA. Okay. Now coming to the another difference which is there in the eukaryote. One is about the types of RNA polymerases. There in the prokaryotes you have only one RNA polymerase which synthesizes all the three RNAs. In eukaryotes you have three RNAs. Then second difference is about the promoter site. In eukaryote, a sequence of DNA bases which is almost identical to the Pribnow box of prokaryotes. It is known as Hognog box, and it is located 25 nucleotides upstream from the starting site, that is start site, that is +1, which is known as the start site of the mRNA synthesis. Let us see. This is the Hognog boss, which is known as Prignog boss and present 10 base pair upstream to the actual start point. Here it is known as Hogness box, which is present at the -25 to -30 base pair upstream to the start of transcription. Then at approximately -70 to -80 base pair, there is another uh, uh, unit present which is known as CAAT unit. Okay, there are various other unit, enhancers, silencers, regulatory elements, that is HRE. All details you will study in the gene regulation. So here I'm just giving you an overview so that there you will be able to understand properly. So here you have seen that first sequence which is identical to the Pribnow box or Tata box in the prokaryotes is known as Hogness sequence. Okay, then another recognition site which is present 70 to 80 nucleotide upstream from the start of transcription. This is known as CAT box, CAAT box. One of these two sites or sometimes both helps RNA polymerase 2 to recognize the requisite sequence on the DNA for transcription. So then Before I start with the eukaryotic initiation, let us start. Uh, I think I should give you a break for 5 minutes till you recollect everything here. Then we will start again. Okay, coming back to the lecture again, from where I have left my lecture. So here I have told you in the eukaryotes promoter assembly is little complex than the eukaryote. There is minus 25 to minus 30 base pair. Upstream base pair is known as Tata, which was known as Tata box. In the prokaryote is known as Hognex box. And my at position minus 70 to minus 80, there is another sequence which is known as cat box. At these both sequence act as a recognition sequence, and along with these sequences, another multiple sequences they are present, which act as enhancers or silencers, or there are presence of regulatory element, HRE. There is need of once this transcription occurs, there is need of large number of proteins which are known as transcription factor. The transcription factor bind to the distinct sites on the DNA within the core promoter region, or close proximal to it, or away from it, that is distal to it. They are required for both the assembly of transcription initiation complex at the promoter site and the determination of which genes are to be transcribed. Okay, clear? So little bit complex process, but once you will read this regulation of gene transcription, you will very well understand about this HRE, because lots of your hormones they act through this regulatory element. Okay, now what happens when the initiation of transcription happens? You already have read about two types of chromatin, euchromatin as well as the heterochromatin. So these genes which are to be transcribed, they are usually present in the euchromatin, because that is a little less condensed or decondensed form of the chromatin, whereas most of the inactive segments of DNA are found in the highly dense, that is heterochromatin segment. And this interconversion of chromatin from U to heterochromatin is process is known as chromatin remodeling. And the major component of this chromatin remodeling is by the covalent modification of histones, and the enzyme is known as histone acetyl transferases, that is HAT, and the process is acetylation and deacetylation. Okay, and the process, the histone deacetylase do the deacetylation, and whenever they, as soon as this acetyl sub moiety is added, it eliminates the positive charge on the lysine, thereby decreasing the interaction of the histone with the negatively charged DNA, and thus the heterochromatin gets converted to euchromatin. So this process is known as chromatin remodeling. So whenever there is initiation of transcription, the chromatin containing the promoter sequence made accessible to the transcription machinery. There is binding of transcription factor, mainly the journal transcription factor. They are named A, B, C, D, sorry, A, B, D, E, F, H. Okay, so there are various transcription factor that is known as journal transcription factor. Okay, so these there is binding of this transcription factor to the DNA sequences in the promoter region, and there is stimulation of transcription by the enhancers. So this GTF, these are basically known as of, there are two types, two terms which you will read in the regulation, that is cis uh, factors and trans factors. So they are trans factors because they are present, the sequence which produce this transcription factor, they are present on some another DNA. So the sequences which are present on the other DNA, they are known as transacting. So, and the sequence like this cat box and Tata box, because they are, and these enhancer silencers, because they are present on the same DNA on which the particular mRNA has to be described, are cis acting units. Okay, so these transcription, journal transcription factor D, it it is a GTF containing Tata binding protein and Tata associated factors, recognizes and binds to the Tata box and other core promoter elements. TF2F, another GTF, brings the polymerase to the promoter, whereas this TF2H, it has helicase activity, and which helps in the melting of DNA, and the kinase activity phosphorylates polymerase, allowing it to clear the promoter. So different these transcription factors have different functions. Okay, so then there are regulatory elements and transcription activators. There are regulatory elements and transcription activators. The additional consensus sequence, they lie upstream to the core promoter. So this is your core promoters unit, and the upstream to this core promoter, the additional subunits are known as regulatory elements and transcription activators. Those present close to the promoter subunit, they are known as proximal regulatory elements, whereas those away from the farther from the promoter subunit are known as the distal regulatory elements. Okay, and the specific transcription factor, that is STF, bind these regulatory elements. Okay, so the binding of this STF to these promoter site on these regulatory elements, or the attachment of enhancers or silencers, regulate the frequency of transcription initiation, and thus regulate which gene are expressed at what time and at what frequency. I think now it is clear. So stimulation of transcription is by the enhancers, whereas silencers slows down the process of transcription. I have already covered there are 6 transcription TF2. These are known as journal transcription factors, which interact with the eukaryotic promoter region and RNA polymerase. TF2D, TF2A, TF2B, TF2F, TF2E, and TF2H. These journal transcription factors, they bind to each other and also with the RNA polymerase. So binding of this TF factor with the Tata binding proteins, this Tata box is bound by the 34 kilodalton protein, that is Tata binding protein, and this Tata binding protein plus journal transcription factor, that is TBP associated factors, leads to the formation of the transcription complex. There are multiple other factors which also attaches there on these regulatory elements present on the genes upstream to the start point, and there are enhancers and silencers also, which increases or decreases the rate of the transcription. Okay, and here one term, here I have not made the diagram here because this thing you will read in detail, because this promoter and enhancers, they form a loop and bring the all this transcription and special transcription factor together to facilitate the transcription. You will read all these things in detail in the regulation of gene transcription. So now coming to the eukaryotic termination, it is less well defined, whereas the termination was very well defined in the prokaryotes. It was row dependent and row independent mechanism were there. whereas it is only row independent type in the, mainly similar to the row independent type of termination in the eukaryotes. Then there is RNA processing, termination, and polyadenylation of proteins appear to load onto the RNAP2 soon after the initiation. Now coming to the next topic, which is very important topic, I will show you the video of this eukaryotic this process in the end. Let us cover the very important topic on which you get a short note, that is the post transcriptional modification. As you have seen, the mRNA which is synthesized by the RNAP2 in the eukaryotes, it is known as primary transcript, or it is known as hetero hnRNA, RNA, and it undergoes many alterations like terminal base additions, base modifications, splicing, etc., which are collectively referred to as post transcriptional process. So the process which is required to convert RNA or the primary RNA transcript into the active form is known as post transcriptional modification, and it includes splicing, addition of 5' cap, creation of poly A tail, and RNA editing. Okay, and the various enzyme like ribonucleases are responsible for this processing, and tRNAs and rRNAs of both prokaryote and eukaryote. The prokaryotic mRNA synthesized in transcription is almost similar to the functional mRNA. In contrast, the eukaryotic mRNA, which is also known as heterogeneous nuclear RNA, undergoes extensive post-transcriptional changes. Okay, so for these transcriptional changes, you need various ribonucleases, and these ribonucleases are required for both prokaryotes and eukaryotes for the processing of tRNA and rRNAs, whereas in prokaryotic mRNA, the transcription, the primary transcript is almost similar to the functional transcript, whereas in eukaryotic mRNA, which is known as heterogeneous nuclear RNA, it undergoes extensive post-transcriptional changes. Let us see how. So here you can see by the diagram, this is the DNA template which contains exon, intron, and exon. There is transcription happens, and this is known as pre-RNA or pre-mRNA or heterogeneous nuclear RNA, which contains multiple exons and introns. There is modification, addition of mRNA cap at the 5' prime. There is addition of 3' poly A tail at the 3' prime. There is splicing, introns are spliced or removed, and exons are joined to form the mature mRNA, which has one 5' cap and a 3' poly A tail. And once it becomes a mature mRNA, it is transported out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm for translation. Okay, so let us see. First process is known as 5' capping. It happens at the 5' end of the mRNA, and it is capped with 7-methyl guanosine by an unusual 5' triphosphate linkage. The methyl moiety is added at the 7' prime of the guanosine unit, that is the guanine base. It is done by the S-adenosyl methionine, which act as a methyl donor, which you have read in the amino acids also. This cap is required for the translation. Besides stabilizing the structure of mRNA, how it protects the stabilizing of the structure of mRNA by preventing it from the 5' exonuclease activity. Okay, then let us see how it is added. So this is your normal mRNA. Okay, this is uh, triphosphate bond, and this at the 5' end, This is M-methyl guanosine is added by the 5-5 triphosphate linkage, and the enzyme which is required for this addition of 5 cap is guanyl transferase, or it is also known as guanine 7 methyl transferase. Okay, and this methylation occurs in the terminal guanine in the cytoplasm. Next comes the addition of poly A tail. I hope it is clear. So poly A tail, a large number of eukaryotic mRNAs possess adenine nucleotide chain at the 3' end. It is not produced during the transcription. We have seen that transcription includes only initiation, elongation, and termination. So this is produced post transcription. So it is a post transcriptional modification. It is added to stabilize the mRNA structure, and this poly A chain gets reduced as the mRNA enters the cytoplasm. So 400 to 200 adenine residues are added, and these adenine nucleotides are added by the enzyme adenyl transferase. So this is your site of adenylation. This endonuclease cleavage occurs about 20 nucleoside downstream from this AA UAA sequence, and then a poly A polymerase adds adenine nucleoside to the 3' end. So there is addition of poly A tail at the 3' end, which prevent this mRNA from the 3' exonuclease activity, and prevents the mRNA from digestion from the 3' exonuclease. This poly A nucleo tail helps in stabilizing the mRNA structure. Okay, so we have read two processes till now: addition of 5' cap and creation of poly A tail. Let's coming to the third and most important post transcriptional modification, that is splicing. Here you have seen that genes are composed of coding and non-coding regions that are alternatively separated. So this is A to G, they are non-coding region, whereas 1 to 7 they are coding region. So non-coding sequences called intervening sequence, which are not coded during the protein synthesis, they are known as introns, and coding sequences are known as exons, which are finally coded during the process of translation, and they uh, code for the particular amino acid. The removal of intron is known as splicing, and this removal is promoted by small ribonuclear protein particles, that is snRNPs. SNRPs, you pronounce them as SNRPs. snRNPs, they are formed by association of small nuclear RNA with various proteins, and the whole assembly is known as spliceosome. It is used to represent the snRNP association with heteronuclear RNA at the exon intron junction. Let us see how. And what are these snRNPs? They are 900 to 300 nucleotides, small nuclear RNAs named as U1, U2, U4, U5, U6, and U7. U3 is missing. They are rich in uracil bases. They are present in the nucleus. And this snRNA, that is small nuclear ribonuclear protein plus specific proteins, forms nerves, and the whole assembly at the exon intron junction, that is your snRNP plus heteronuclear RNA, forms spliceosome, and spliceosome also contains ribozymes. So let us see how this, and I have included this slide just to show you the function of U7. That is, U7 is another small nuclear ribo RNA, which is sorry, which is involved in the production of correct 3' end of histone mRNA, which lacks a poly-A tail. So here, this small nuclear RNA, they bind and remove the intron in the form of lariat formation and joins the two exon, and this excised intron is removed in the lariat shape. So small nuclear RNAs, these are small, and this whole assembly is known as spliceosome. These small nuclear RNAs are involved in the process of splicing, that is intron removal of primary transcript to form the mature mRNA. The snRNPs form complexes with various proteins to form ribonucleoprotein particles called SNPs. So let us see how this happens. This is your one exon, this is your another exon, and in between there is intron. Okay, so this is exon intron junction, which is known as 5' splice donor site, and this is your 3' splice site, which is known as 3' splice acceptor site. And there is one branch point which is usually this branch site has adenine moiety in between, and it is present in the intron subunit. Okay, so your U1 small nuclear ribonucleoprotein binds to the 5' splice site, that is the splice donor site of the exon intron junction, and U2 binds with the adenine of the branch site. Okay, so U1 binds to the 5' splice site and U2 binds to the branch site. And after this binding, okay, this 2' O hydroxyl group of this intron attacks the 5' nucleotide, okay, of this intron exon junction of splice donor site, that is your 5' splice site. This attacks on this, and this attacks the phosphate at the 5' of the intron, okay, forming creating a lariat structure. So once it attacks, it forms a lariat structure, and forming a phosphodiester bond that joins the exons of 1 and 2. So this is 1 and this is 2. So intron loops out and exon brought closer to the exon number 2 because of, and the other SNRPs which are joined, they are U4, U6 and U5, which later on join to form a trimer. So here you can see whatever I was telling, the hydroxyl group of this branch site attacks the phosphate group of this GU site, okay, and then there is release of, there is formation of this lariat loop of this portion of this intron, okay, and then this uh, 5' splice 5' splice donor site comes in contact with the 3' splice acceptor site, and these two joins with each other, and whereas the whole moiety, intron moiety, is removed as the lariat formation. Okay, so this whole is known as spliceosome. This 5' splice site is cut, then 5' end of the intron is connected to the A in the branch site to form a lariat. Then U1 and U4 are released, and U5 and U6 shift their position, bringing these two exons together. Okay, and then these two exons, they are joined together, and intron is removed as the lariat. And after this intron is removed, the mature mRNA molecule pass into the cytoplasm, which I have shown here. It pass into the cytoplasm for the further translation process, whereas the introns, uh, it is degraded. The lariat form is degraded. This lariat which is formed is degraded. So here this moiety branch point moiety hydroxyl group attacks on the phosphoryl moiety of the 5' splice. I am again repeating 5' splice donor site. There is partial lariat formation here. This 5' splice donor site attacks on the phosphoryl group of the 3' splice acceptor site, and this intron is completely removed in the form of a lariat. So then comes the alternate splicing. Sorry, first I will discuss about the mutation in the intron exon junction. So if there is some mutation in the intron exon junction, there is defective splicing of pre-mRNA. So the disease which is because of this mutation of intron exon junction leads to the beta thalassemia, leading to the absent of beta chain synthesis. So now coming to the alternate splicing. Alternate splicing leads to differential expression of various genes and also leads to certain diseases. You know various type of glucokinase. Glucokinase 4 is known as hexokinase. It is expressed differently in liver and pancreas due to different promoters leading to differential splicing. Okay, and this there is again alternate splicing leading to various tropomyosin structure in different striated muscle cell, myoblast, smooth muscle cells, non-muscle fibroblast, and hepatoma. Because of this alternate splicing of various introns and exons. So here you can see from the structure how this alternate splicing is happening in different cells, leading to the differential expression of the various proteins, and the most important of this enzyme is glucokinase, and second best example is tropomyosin. Now coming to the alternate editing. So ApoB gene, we have read about ApoB gene in the chylomicrons and VLDL formation. So ApoB gene is of two type, ApoB100 which is synthesized in the liver, whereas there is another ApoB48 which is synthesized in the intestine. So ApoB gene is present both in the liver and in the intestine. In intestine it produces ApoB48, whereas in liver it produces ApoB100. It is incorporated, B100 is incorporated in VLDL, whereas B48 is incorporated in the chylomicrons. So in intestine, same primary transcript is formed, but a cytidine deaminase converts a CAA codon into UAA. And when you will read about translation, you will come to know that UAA is a stop codon. And so because of this cytidine deaminase present in the intestine, the primary transcript stops at the only produces 49 kilodalton protein, that is ApoB48. So here what happens in the RNA editing? In the liver, the whole gene is transcribed, that is 4536 base pair is transcribed and it produces a protein ApoB100. Whereas in the intestine, there is cytidine deaminase which deaminates cytosine into uracil, and there is partial translation only a protein of 2152 uh, amino acid which contains only 2152 amino acid, that is ApoB48 is synthesized from this partial transcript, whereas this transcript is fully transcribed in the liver. So ApoB100 is synthesized in liver, whereas in liver ApoB48 is synthesized. Now coming to the processing of eukaryotic RNAs. it happens in there are multiple methylation sites in present on this eukaryotic RNA. So first there is methylation on this 45S long pre-mRNA subunit. After that there is cleavage by nucleases which produce 18S, 5.8S and 28S transcripts of mature rRNAs. Now coming to the transfer modification, post transcriptional modification in the transfer RNA. In the transcription, this transfer RNA, it is a long primary tRNA transcript which is present. So initially there is a 16 nucleotide sequence which is present at the 5' end and shown in the green, is cleaved by the RNA P. Then a 14 nucleotide intron which is shown in the purple in the anticodon loop is removed by the splicing. And there is many bases, they are converted into characteristic modified bases. One of these is Psi. You can see here there is modification in the uracil base pair, and then at the 3' prime uracil residues at the 3' prime are replaced by the C CCA. Here you can see there are two uracil, so it is replaced by the CCA sequence, and this is the site where the amino acid binds. It is also known as the adapter arm of tRNA, where the this amino acid binds, and this anticodon loop, it binds with the codon uh, uh, loop codon of the mRNA. So this is your primary transcript and this is your functional tRNA. After post-transcriptional modification, the modified bases are dihydrouracil and pseudouracil, and M, which means the base has been methylated. So here you can see M also here where the modification by methylation happens. Okay, so let us revise the post transcriptional modification. One mechanism is addition of the mRNA cap at the 5' prime, that is by the 7-methyl guanosine, then poly A tail at the 3' end. Both these initial cap and the poly A tail helps in the stabilizing of mRNA structure. Then comes the splicing, where the introns are removed by the lariat formation by the help of the enzymes, small nuclear RNAs and various protein which forms a spliceosome, and are known these two SNRPs and proteins are known as NERP, and the whole assembly is known as spliceosome. The intron is removed in the form of lariat, and there is initially there is partial lariat formation, then there is complete lariat formation, and two introns, they are joined together. There is diseases because of the mutation in the intron exon junction, and one most important disease is beta thalassemia leading to absent beta chain. Then there is alternate splicing leading to different isoenzyme of the same same and sorry, different isoenzyme according to the how they are alternatively spliced in different uh, muscles. The best example is tropomyosin and glucokinase. Then comes to the editing. So editing leads to the formation of different proteins. One good example is ApoB100 and ApoB48 in the lipoproteins, chylomicrons and VLDL formation. Then processing of eukaryotic RNA by methylation and subsequent cleavages by nucleases. And then how this primary tRNA transcript is converted into functional tRNA by multiple post-transcriptional modification, removal of 16 nucleotide sequence at 5' end, that is leader sequence. Then there is intron 14 nucleotide intron is removed by splicing. There is addition of this CA removal of UU uracil unit at the 3' end, and there is base modification by addition of methyl group, and there is another base modification psi group, that is pseudouracil and dihydrouracil group in the mature tRNA. Now coming to the inhibitors of transcription, the most important I have already covered, that is rifampicin. It binds to the beta subunit of RNAP, uh, uh, and it only binds to the prokaryotic RNA. It is an anti-tubercular drug which stops the transcription and subsequently translation of tubercular bacteria, and it is uh, this drug causes red urine also. You will study in detail in pharmacology, and the important function is that it binds to the beta subunit of RNAP of prokaryotes. Then coming to the alpha mannitine, it is poison present in the mushroom, and this RNAP2 is inactivated. I have told you while discussing the sensitivity of this RNAPs in eukaryote, that this RNAP2 is highly sensitive to this alpha mannitine, whereas RNAP3 is moderately sensitive, so it is totally inactivated and protein synthesis stops. So that is why few mushrooms, they are poisonous in nature where alpha mannitine is present. Then the third inhibitor is actinomycin. It is an antibiotic from the streptomycin which was used as an anti-cancer drug. It leads to the insertion of uh, phenoxazone ring between the two GC base pair of DNA, leading to the inhibition of transcription. And another is 3-deoxyadenosine, which is a synthetic analog, and it causes incorrect entry into chain, causing chain termination. Okay, thank you. And I just want, before leaving this lecture, I want to show you one PPT. So stay tuned here. And if you have any problem, any query, now you are coming for practicals, you can always walk into my room. It's 312, room number 312. So just want to show you another about the splicing. Yeah.
Translated as proteins. But coding regions or exons of eukaryotic genes are interrupted by non-coding regions. These non-coding regions are known as introns. Introns stand for intervening region.
So here you can see exon, intron.
This RNA is complementary to the DNA sequence, except that, in place of thymine, uracil is added. This means RNA sequence will also contain the non-coding regions or introns. The genetic message.
So this is pre-mRNA. So primary transcript contains the interrupted genetic message. So it is converted into mature mRNA. 5' cap is added and 3' poly A tail is added. This is known as RNA processing, and this intron is removed. So how this intron is removed, let me show you.
Stands for expressed region.
So this is the express region or coding region. This is the non-coding region or intron.
But coding regions or exons of eukaryotic genes are interrupted by non-coding regions.
Okay.
Now, what is
So
special about
here,
exon?
this is 5' donor side. This is 3' acceptor, splice acceptor side. This is your intron where the branch point is present.
5' intron always has GU times, and the 3' end of each intron is a GU.
So here the concentric sequence is GU. Here it is AG at the 5' splice site and at the 3' splice site respectively.
Site in each intron. This site is 15 to 45 nucleotide upstream of 3' splice site. It contains 8 and 9. This site in intron is known as branch point or branch site.
This is the branch point A.
Now let's talk about the cellular machinery that carries out the process of RNA splicing.
So the cellular machinery is
mRNA
SNPs,
carried out
snRNP along with various protein which forms a spliceosome.
CSM recognizes the conserved sequence.
Okay, so at this branch point, the U1 is bind at the 5' splice site, whereas U2 bind at the branch site.
Each RNA protein complex is made up of a small nuclear RNA and proteins.
So this snRNA and this protein forms SNPs, that is small nuclear ribonucleoproteins.
So, spliceosome is made up of SNPs. The main SNPs which constitute spliceosome are U1, U2, U5, and U4,
so
U6.
These are various small nuclear riboproteins, nuclear RNAs along with the proteins, so they form SNPs.
So, now we are familiar with the splice sites in
So this is the branch point. This is 5' site. This is 3' acceptor site.
First step involves the SNPs U1 and U2.
So U1 bind at the splice donor site and U2 bind at the branch point.
Due to base pairing between the U1 5' end, U2 binds to the A residue at the branch site. In the second step, the remaining SNPs, that is, U5 and U4, U6 join the already.
So they form the trimer.
Thus, spliceosome is now assembled. Next, spliceosome loops out the intron and bring the two exon ends close together.
So there is lariat formation.
In the third step, U1 and U4 are expelled.
So U1 and U4 are discharged and U4, U5, U6 U6 pair both with the 5' splice site and U2.
In the fourth step, the 5' end of intron is cleaved.
And this 5' end of the intron is cleaved and it attaches with the branch point. That is partial lariat formation.
The final step, the 3' end of the intron is cleaved and exons join together.
And then this 3' end of the intron is also cleaved and exons are joined, and this intron is removed as lariat because its structure is similar to the lariat and it is degraded by the enzymes.
This whole process of pre-mRNA splicing is repeated for other exons and introns within the primary transcript. So, that's all in today's lecture. Please don't forget to subscribe this channel. If these videos are helpful.
So I hope it is clear to you. Again, any question you can write to me or you can come directly to me and ask your queries. Thank you so much. And please, I request you to go through this lecture because this lecture is further related to translation as well as expression of gene regulation of gene expression, because a translation only uses little bit part of this transcription, but the regulation of gene transcription which is also important for small questions. They it is mainly related to this topic. So if you will not understand or you will not read this topic, you will not never be able to understand that topic. Thank you so much. Any questions? Any questions? So I'm closing my class here only today.